Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Sharon Stevens. Today is Yom HaShoah, or Holocaust Remembrance Day. In St. Louis, Congregation Temple Israel and the Holocaust Museum and Learning Center are teaming up for a week of events that begins tonight at 7 with a concert reading of the play The Soap Myth. The playwright is Jeff Cohen, and it stars acclaimed television actor and 7-time Emmy Award winner Ed Asner. Asner is best known for his role as Lou Grant in the 70s and 80s on The Mary Tyler Moore Show and the spin-off series Lou Grant. More recently, he's been known for his work on the comedy film Elf and as the voice of Carl Fredricksen in the animated Pixar film Up. Both Ed Asner and playwright Jeff Cohen join me in the studio. Thank you both very much. Good afternoon to you. So glad you're here.
Hi, Sharon.
To you.
It's great to be here.
Great. And we're going to talk about the play in just a moment, but I'd like to...
I can't wait.
You can't wait. Okay. First, I'd just like to know, Ed Asner, what is it that keeps you acting? Why do you keep acting after such an accomplished career?
Acting.
Acting keeps you acting. Okay.
Yeah, if the one-horse show will fall apart if you let it sit. So we have to keep moving. Much as I hate the people who urge me to keep moving. But there's merit in the information.
Do you have a favorite character or show or play or movie that you've been associated with?
No, everything I've done has been brilliant. So
Naturally.
it's hard to, so hard to.
It's hard to pick from the different
Yeah.
children which one's your favorite.
That's right. Yes. And I would get protests if
Of course
I
you would.
decided on
I
one.
was expecting you to say The Soap Myth with Jeff Cohen, and you didn't say it. Now I'm very offended.
What's the soap myth?
We're going to find out in just a second here. Lou Grant, was that your favorite character?
It was my favorite character, not necessarily because of the acting, because you get into a rut kind of doing the same character week in, week out, and repeating it and being the gloomy Gus that people take you for. But because of the issues involved. I had no idea that Mary Tyler Moore was a pioneering show, but I'll take people's word for it. Lou Grant certainly was. It was the only show for those 5 years we were on that really dealt with the problems. And I think it was missed when it was canceled.
Like what?
I think it was missed when it was canceled.
No, I mean, you were talking about the problem.
No,
The issues.
show.
What
Yes.
kind of issues?
What?
What kind of issues were you guys
The issues of the
dealing
day:
with?
housing, poverty,
Right. I think that's
racial,
what you were asking, yeah.
Vietnam vets, you name it.
It was an important show, Ed.
Yeah.
All hot button issues there. Okay, let's move on to the soap myth now. What's it all
Sure.
about, Jeff?
The Soap Myth is a play that deals with various issues in and around the historical event of the Holocaust. Ed Asner portrays a Holocaust survivor named Milton Saltzman, who is on a crusade about the Nazi atrocity of soap. Did the Nazis make soap from the corpses of murdered Jews?
Did they?
That's the central issue of the play. Survivors like Milton Saltzman are adamantly that they did, but historians can't find the right kind of documentary evidence to prove it conclusively. So that's the sort of the genesis starting point of the play. And then the play deals with other issues which are actually much more important and more relevant than whether they made soap. issues of Holocaust denial. There's a Holocaust denier that makes an appearance in the play that's quite toxic, but she's also quite pleasant and charming. And there is, with Milton Saltzman, the issue that I think is very, very important, which is how does a survivor survive surviving? The survivors of the Holocaust are dying off, and soon they'll be gone. And it's important for all of us to keep their memory and the memory of the Holocaust alive.
Difficult subject matter regarding the Holocaust. Why tell the story this way?
Because I'm a playwright. I was approached by a gentleman with a magazine article who was a survivor. I met him only one time, and he's the model for Ed's character. His name was Morris Spitzer. And he gave me this article, and as a playwright, I was trying to figure out a way to turn it into a dramatic piece, and it took me a number of years to do it. I also think that there's a power to theater that's very, very important, including the live aspect. One of the things I like to say is that as the survivors are dying off, there's an immortality to the theater. So when an actor like Ed Asner plays the role of Milton Saltzman, for that 90 minutes, that person, that character's alive. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 500 years from now, when an actor plays that role for 90 minutes, he's still alive, and he won't let the world forget what happened to him. And I think that's powerful.
How did you come to take this role, Ed Asner?
Because it's a beautiful play. It really is. And I felt very right for it, absolutely right for it.
Why?
Well, same age. I'm almost exactly the same age. And I come from the generation that the play is about. It seems like I'll be 90 in November, and it seems like everything that's happened to me in that 90 years serves as a feeder for what I need to play the character.
One of the reasons why Ed is so wonderful for this character is I wrote the character to be cantankerous, loud.
So why'd you choose me?
Because you're such a good actor, even though you're so mild-mannered in real life. And someone who refuses to be put in a corner and told, shut up. Ed Asner, for his entire career, has been a man who, when he sees something is wrong, he's not afraid to stand up and say, that is wrong. And my character, Milton Saltzman, is exactly the same way. It could not be a more perfect fit.
Okay. We are talking with acclaimed television actor and 7-time Emmy Award winner actor Ed Asner and playwright Jeff Cohen. How do people respond to your character, Ed? The audience.
I haven't noted any individual response necessarily, but there seems to be a little awe or veneration, let us say, at the antiquity of the character and what he went through. They cannot challenge him, so they stand in respect of him.
So not necessarily a like or dislike, just, Okay.
Well, Ed's got a different perspective than I do, because I see how the audience, at first, is a little taken aback by this incredibly loud, angry man. But by the end of the play, they're weeping for him. And a great measure of that is the brilliance of Ed's acting.
And that's
he won't
exactly
tell you
how
that.
You wanted it? Is that how you wanted
it
to go?
It's the dream of every playwright, to be able to see an audience moved in the way that Ed moves them. Yes.
Well, I can remember quite well the 1 or 2 pages in Life or Look magazine, I can't remember which one it was, which covered the soap aspect of the Nazi atrocities. I remembered well.
Okay. So you put that into your performance. Yes. Okay. Let's talk about the event tonight. It's described as a concert reading. What does it mean?
So it's very simple. What we decided to do, and no offense to Ed, but at 90 years old, his ability to remember lines in a script is not what it once was. So we decided that rather than make his performance about what's my next line, that we'd simply allow him to have a script so that he could embody the character without having to remember the lines. And it turned out to be a very, very powerful way of presenting the play. It's just chairs, music stands. He's supported by 3 brilliant actors, some of the best actors in the world, all Broadway actors. And they sit, and it's staged by my director, Pam Berlin, in a simple way. And the audience gets to use their imagination and get sucked in. And by the end of it, they feel as though they've seen a fully realized production with lights and sets, and it transforms them in a way. And it's the power of the communication between actor, spoken word, and audience that is at the center of what theater is about.
It could be a trend.
I'm doing 2 other pieces this year, which require my reading the script, and I would say to you, it's come as a surprise to me that staged readings such as we are doing, can be and are as effective as if you were looking at a full-length play. I think the audience would agree vehemently with that assessment.
100%.
So you can see this possibly being done with other productions.
Sure.
That's if the play is good.
Yeah.
At some point, we hope that because the whole idea is to engender a conversation about this massive blight on humanity. The Nazis demonstrated conclusively that it's possible to exterminate an entire group of people.
But they didn't.
And well, they didn't win the war.
Yeah, they didn't take over the world.
But since then, other strongmen, Milosevic, Radovich, other genocides in Africa have all used what the Nazis did as a blueprint. So the Nazis have actually left a pretty horrific legacy that others are following.
Earlier, Ed, you talked about various television shows and how, they would address things. What are some of the current issues that you see television addressing now?
Well, education is always a black hole in terms of America. We always are propping up our education system or indebting our college-age youth with massive debts that they have to look at for the rest of their lives. So we've got to rearrange this. Much money is spent on the military, on our incursions into foreign lands that we should have shut up and stayed home and let it heal itself. And I've always been an interventionist, but I think America has used it for its own purposes, not necessarily for benevolence. So there's that. There's the ever-growing chasm between the 1%ers and the 99%ers. And that has to be solved in this country, or it'll lead us into a revolution eventually. And I fear what kind of revolution. I think the racial differences have been dealt with enough so that even though there will always be a problem, they've certainly improved. I don't know. What do you got?
I think that we have a lot of tribalism in this country. I think there's a rise of anti-Semitism, a rise of bigotry, a rise of white nationalism. And I think that we as Americans and we as human beings need to make choices. And we
and
need
you see
to
television dealing with these issues?
I think television should deal with it. I think that people should demand that it be dealt with. But television is simply a medium. It's really about human beings. And I think human beings need to make choices to their better natures and their better angels, and should not make choices about greed and avarice and sinfulness.
I think a prime subject for TV would be dealing with the massacre in, it was Australia, wasn't it? Of
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yep.
Or the
mass murder in Pittsburgh, where we're going in a few days to perform the play, okay. Or the killing in California this past weekend, right. By a 19-year-old kid who has an assault rifle, and this idea that if you allow people to have assault rifles and they're mentally ill, they will go and kill people. So let's remove the assault rifles. Okay.
We'll continue this discussion in a moment. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we have some breaking news that we've got to get on. The U.S. Attorney's Office has announced that former St. Louis County Executive Steve Stenger will plead guilty in federal court tomorrow morning. He was indicted on Monday for bribery, mail fraud, and theft of honest services. It's not clear which charges he will plead guilty to. The charges surrounding him are granting county contracts to political donors. We'll have more on this developing story this afternoon. Now, back to Ed Asner and Jeff Cohen. And a concert reading of The Soap Myth is tonight at 7. Jeff, what do you want people to come away with?
Honestly, I want them to come away with the knowledge that we as human beings are capable of the worst kind of behavior. But a man like Milton Saltzman, as embodied by Ed Asner, also shows the flip side of that. We're capable of heroic behavior, we're capable of looking for justice, and we're capable of better things. And we engage in a dialogue after every performance. We have a Q&A and a talkback. And I tell everybody that it lies within us. And it should be something that galvanizes everyone. If you're against anti-Semitism, if you stand up against the Holocaust, but you don't stand up against Islamophobia, you don't stand up against racial strife and conflict, you don't stand up against the immigration policies of this administration, and you hope that, well, they're going after the other people, maybe they won't come after us this time. Mm-hmm. They will come after us because it's all the same thing. And you have to stand up for hatred wherever it is. That's what I hope they take away.
A gentleman who was here before our interview, he looked like he was probably a veteran of Manzanar, was he?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with who you're talking about.
There was a Japanese gentleman in here.
And you wanted to know what? If he was...
was he not interned as a Japanese during the...
Do not know. Oh. Do not know. Sorry. Do you? Let me ask you, Ed. Is the character of Milton one that's going to stay with you, or as with your other characters? I mean, you're finished.
He's mine.
He's yours.
That's true. I wouldn't dare replace Ed Asner in this role. He'd come in and shoot me.
Hey.
Just to give you an answer here, the gentleman you're talking about, who's sitting right where Jeff is sitting now, Harold Law, is Chinese.
Always Chinese.
Yes, So just wanted to correct that, put that
Thank
up
you.
there. We've got a caller on the line, Chris in Manchester. Hi, Chris.
Hi. I'm so glad to speak to Ed Asner directly and tell him that they forgot to mention that he was the voice of God in Conversations with God, and so was Ellen Burstyn over 20 years ago. And just like today, that Ed is continuing to be the epitome of arts and theater in changing people's minds and hearts. He changed our life by being the voice of God and brought new thought to us in a very difficult time. And I just wanted to thank him profusely for all of his work, because whenever we see Ed Asner's name, we know we can trust the content, and it's going to be good no matter what.
Oh, that's very, very sweet of you. Thank you so much. And just as I love what I'm doing now with the soap myth, I love doing that God because he spoke common sense, and you don't nail God speaking common sense that often. You know what I mean? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much for your work.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much for calling, Chris. Ed, you've had so many roles, and there's another one. What do you find challenging about acting?
It's a springboard to new sensations, new thoughts, new contact with people, my coworkers. Everything's new, and a change of experience, a change of scenery.
Mm-hmm. So even though you're repeating the role maybe night after night or week after week, that sort of thing.
And you keep trying to make it better.
Mm-hmm. Could Lou Grant have been better?
Could Lou Grant have been better?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm a better actor now than I was then.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I think there are others who would say that was just so terrific, such a great role. I think the other thing is we want to get back to the play. Does it benefit anyone in terms of, is it a fundraiser?
So we're just this sort of itinerant troupe of actors that sort of travel where people will have us. I know that in St. Louis, this is being sponsored by a Holocaust Memorial Museum. I know it's being sponsored by the Jewish Federation. I know it's being sponsored by the temple, the congregation. And I hope that they use it for fundraising. I hope that they use it for educational outreach. One of the beautiful things, while we're performing tonight in the temple, tomorrow we're doing a matinee, and I'm told 600 school kids are going to come and watch the play.
I want to thank Ed Asner and Jeff Cohen for joining me today. Thank you all for being here. There's a concert reading of The Soap Myth tonight at 7. We have details on our website.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you both. This is St. Louis on the Air, St. Louis Public Radio, 90.7 KWMU.
The Gateway brings you the day's news from the St. Louis region and across Missouri. It also includes stories from the Illinois side of the river and our Metro East reporter, Will Bauer.
In Alton, in Belleville, in East St. Louis, in Edwardsville, in Cahokia Heights, at Scott Air Force Base, I'm Will Bauer. St. Louis Public Radio.
Listen to reports from Will and all of our journalists weekdays on The Gateway, on the STLPR app, and wherever you get podcasts.